What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if Killer Frost could be added to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League in terms of DLC, in terms of just future content. Now, I did this a few weeks ago with Deathstroke. I thought he would be an excellent first choice. You know, a lot of people have been asking me about him. Obviously, he was one of the, I think, the main people that we kind of wanted to be on the Suicide Squad. Not a character whose race was changed, not a character who could potentially actually be dead, but then brought back to life, or, you know, his son. And I get it. People have pointed out that, you know, there could be things going on there. I get it. I'm just joking. It's okay. But, you know, obviously Deathstroke was a big one. Killer Frost, it was actually asked of me by, I believe it was the Game Incus. I really hope that's your name on Twitter. So thank you for suggesting that. I know people have asked me also here on YouTube. I really do appreciate all the suggestions. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Every Saturday, you guys know, I do a new Suicide Squad video. Killer Frost is absolutely one. I mean, when you guys are asking me that, I mean, that was one that I was going to do anyway. Remember, when I had said my top 5 characters I wanted for this game, Killer Frost was one. I believe it was Killer Frost, Killer Croc. Those were 2. Harley, I do believe, was a 3rd one. So, I mean, and Deathstroke was one. So, Killer Frost was absolutely one that I wanted for this game. And I think that she fits the bill. So I'm going to be recapping, to be honest with you, I'm going to be recapping a little bit about what I said about her in that video. But I kind of want to talk about what we know now in the Suicide Squad game. So, again, it's important to note we don't know fully how it's going to work. There hasn't been a lot of talks on if these are the only 4 characters. I'd have to, you know, I was going to say I'd have to imagine it's not, but at the same time, that is not a guarantee. You even look at like Marvel's Avengers, I mean, really it's 5 characters, and then you add Cap and you get 6, but you have 5 characters and that's it. And then yes, you have DLC, and you could say, okay, well, Rocksteady's doing its own thing. They said they're doing their own thing. They're doing their own spin on that kind of stuff. But I mean, we don't know. We just flat out don't know. Really, I mean, it doesn't really make all that much sense to have more than the base 4 characters, because you have this trailer, and I think you set it up very, and in fact, let me just kind of cut myself off right there, Alex from the past here, saying that, you know, they said that there's only going to be those 4 because you can control one and you can fill up the other 3 with people online, or bots will take control of the 3. So unless you can pick your squad of 4 and they're hiding that, you know what I mean? Maybe there's like 8 of them and you have to pick a party of 4 at all time. And then again, if you play alone, bots will take the other 3. And then if you play online, it could be you and any variation of those other 7. 3 of those 7 would come with you with people online. I mean, if they wanted to do that, that's fine. That's kind of just why I lean more towards DLC, because it'll be interesting. I'm not opposed, by the way, because I know maybe sometimes I sound very, very negative about this game. I mean, I am very concerned about it, way more concerned about this than I am Gotham Knights. Yet again, this is 2 years away. There's not a lot we know about it. They could easily, you know, put a lot of our worries to bed. I'm on board with all of those things, but still definitely worries me. At the same time, I mean, I am excited, and I don't really have anything against these 4. While there's some continuity issues there, and while it's like, do you have to pick some of these characters? Like, some of them you definitely picked because of the movie or because of some relevance that you think they have, but they really don't. I'm mainly referencing Captain Boomerang there, because it's like, yeah, he's in both the movies. Jai Courtney does an okay job. Well, obviously, we don't know how he did in the second one, but, you know, he's okay. It's not the greatest character in the world. I think you could have picked different characters that made it, I don't know, a bit more diverse, a bit more just different in general, get some comic fans on your side. And again, that's where Killer Frost, I think, comes in. So to now skip in 4 minutes later, and I know I always do this, but no, Killer Frost would be a perfect addition. You see her, obviously, in the show. I think Danielle Panabaker does an incredible job. She's really, really good at both, you know, Caitlin and as Killer Frost. So, you know, I think that I honestly, like a lot of these things, you got to think about it, and I think about it like people like me, where I'm not too into the kind. I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people into the comics. A lot of people that buy these games are into comics, but not everybody. In fact, I would argue the majority of people that buy these games are not diehard, like, you know, comic book readers, where they don't know the depth of some of these characters. They don't know, and again, maybe that is what scares them with picking characters like Killer Frost. Maybe pick a comic character and say, well, and they would be an awesome fit into a game like this, but nobody really knows them. That's kind of a problem even with some of the villains that people are bringing up for Gotham Knights or the Arkham games in general. A thing that the Arkham games did so well, which you could argue, by the way, and this is a good point here, Rocksteady, obviously did those, the main three, the trilogy of the Arkham games. They are kind of ones that I trust personally, that they are aware that, we can put a lot of stuff that maybe isn't the biggest in terms of like the wider knowledge, but we can make them more exciting. I mean, how many people knew about the Jason Todd story in Arkham Knight? How many people really knew that? A lot did, but not everybody. In fact, again, I would say not the majority. Even like Hugo Strange or Mr. Freeze obviously was a little bit bigger, but go down the line, especially in like the side villains of Arkham Knight, they did their research. They did find these characters that are a little off the board but would work and kind of give a brand new life to them, and I think they worked really well. Killer Frost is kind of like that, and again, that's why I kind of said I think she'd be perfect for the main, like having her be a main character, because she is a little bit off the board. She's not someone you would think of immediately. I mean, again, she is part of the Suicide Squad in a lot of comic series, but you look at even the movies, she's not in it. They don't even put her in the movies, but you see how relevant she is with the TV show. And again, Danielle Panabaker, she's not like a top tier like movie actress, but she's a very, very popular person. And again, I think her portrayal is really good. And I think a lot of people know Killer Frost from her. I'd almost, I would actually love if she could do the voice of, I think that would actually be a really, really cool thing. But so she's kind of in the middle for me, where she would be a choice that's a little off the board, but people still, I think, would largely know her. They may not know her as well as Harley or as some other characters, but like, again, you look at maybe like a King Shark, it's like, well, not a lot of people know him. He's kind of, I would say King Shark is the more off the board kind of character of those four. Of the four already, King Shark was the one that they said, okay, let's pick a random character. Killer Frost may have been I really want to hear from them. How Gotham Knights, Warner Bros. Montreal, like they did their kind of touring afterwards, their press tour. Rocksteady didn't. I would love to hear from them and say, hey, did you have any other people that you were originally considering for the main four? That kind of gets a little murky, because then you can kind of get into, well, is there going to be DLC, and maybe those characters that they had originally planned you can just put for DLC. I think that would kind of get the cat out of the bag there, which maybe would not be what they want. But I would say the odds of a Killer Frost DLC is pretty darn high. This is a game, again, even if they're not going to do Marvel's Avengers, I think they're going to do something close to Marvel's Avengers, hopefully higher quality. But I think with that being said, you're going to add new characters. Now, if they don't do Deathstroke, there's just something very clearly wrong with them. I think that's probably number one on like everybody's list. So I'm not going to say Killer Frost should be number one. Honestly, I think I'd rather see Killer Frost and Deathstroke, but that's that's just a minority. I have nothing against, either of them. Obviously, I want both. But Killer Frost, I'd really, really want. So I really do hope when we talk about DLC down the line, if they do like Avengers, maybe every month and a half, 2 months, if they could do a brand new, character that you could put in. And again, I mean, it seems very plausible this game is built to do that these characters are going to be very diverse. They're going to play very differently. You're going to go through the story, but at the same time, you can probably swap them out, and not much is going to. And that, to me, hurts the story. That's why I'm a little concerned about Gotham Knights with how you can play as the same character as somebody else. Same thing with Suicide Squad. That's my biggest concern story-wise, is if I were to tell you like 3 years down the line, if you could play, say, story missions and you could swap out Harley for Killer Frost and not all that much changes at all, I would argue that that's not a good thing. Okay, I think in a gameplay loop that they may be creating, that they want us to play for a long time, or whatever the case may be, I think it's good there. But from a interactive story where I want these characters to feel and interact with each other, I mean, again, you see from the trailer, they do. I'm not literally saying like you can replay the story with like brand new DLC characters. They could, again, do the Marvel route where they have their own story. You can use them in raids. You can use them to fight, the villains of this game, the Justice League in this case. But they have their own storyline. Okay, so they are unique in that way. I think that would be fine. I think Killer Frost would work. I get we're at the end of this video. I didn't even talk about how she would play, but you got to just think about long-range attacks, close-range attacks. I think that you look at these characters, they could all do it. We saw a little bit of, I guess, the idea, the concept of what combat would look like in this game, from that trailer. And so I think for a Killer Frost, it would kind of be, I mean, you could very easily, come up with some long range attacks she could do. You could also come up with close range, and it's kind of like I don't know, like a seasonal. Is that really a word? Like, I don't know, like like a type character, like an ice character. You don't have anybody else, in my opinion, like that. Like Killer Shark, is he really water? Like, not really. You look at all the other characters, there's no, I don't know, like theme behind them that's like this, right? There's no element. Element is probably the word, right? There's no ice element. There's nothing like that. I think, honestly, having characters like that, even like a fire character, like literally do the Last Airbender, basically. Pick, some characters of all of these different like types of elements and throw them in the game. And no, honestly, I think the gameplay of that would work really, really well. So, guys, let me know. What do you think? Do you think Killer Frost should be in this game? Do you think she would work? How do you think this game is structured? Where, could they actually do this? Let me know in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And like I said, every single Saturday, I do a new video on Suicide Squad. So keep those suggestions coming, and I will see you all next week.